Okay, let's dive right in. Today we're breaking down a really powerful philosophy from entrepreneur and Shark Tank investor Matt Higgins. It's a mindset that honestly goes against almost everything we're taught about planning for success. It's called burn the boats.
To really get this philosophy, you've got to understand where it comes from. This wasn't some theory cooked up in a comfortable boardroom. No way. It was forged in desperation by a kid in Queens, New York, who figured out pretty damn quick that the cavalry was not coming to save him.
You know, we're all told to have a plan B, a safety net, but Higgins argues this is a trap. He says the very act of building a safety net is precisely what forces you to need one. It divides your focus and kind of whispers to your brain that failure is an acceptable option.
So, if the safety net is out, what's the alternative? Well, it's this philosophy right here: burn the boats.
The philosophy is honestly simple and brutal. To achieve something truly great, you have to eliminate your escape route. It's about total commitment, where the only way forward is through, because there's just no way to go back.
And what's really wild is that this isn't some new age business hack. Nope. It's a timeless, battle-tested military strategy. Sun Tzu wrote about it. Julius Caesar used it to conquer England. Hernan Cortez did the same thing to conquer the Aztecs. When retreat is impossible, victory becomes the only option.
Okay, so how do you actually do this without just being, well, reckless? It all starts with trusting the one expert who has all the data on your life, you. And man, one of the most powerful stories from Higgins' own life shows exactly how this works.
So picture this. As a teenager, Higgins saw the traditional path, 4 years of high school, as basically a prison sentence keeping him and his ailing mother in poverty. He had this vision for a faster way out, a way to collapse time and get to college years ahead of schedule.
His plan was completely counterintuitive. I mean, he decided to architect his own crisis. By intentionally failing and dropping out, he could take the high school equivalency exam, the GED, and apply to college at just 16. Everyone, and I mean everyone, teachers, friends, family, they all told him he was throwing his life away.
And this moment right here, it just brilliantly illustrates the kind of conviction it takes. On his last day, a teacher mocked him in front of the entire class. But Higgins, burning with shame and fear, he found a spark of courage and fired right back. This wasn't arrogance, you know. This was the sound of his boats burning.
So how do we actually cultivate this kind of trust in ourselves? Well, it really boils down to 4 key principles. First up, have a clear vision. You just can't hit a target you can't see. Second, you gotta learn to act on your hunches before you have all the evidence. Third, and this is a big one, own your expertise. Remember, you're the world's leading expert on yourself. And finally, practice. Trusting your gut is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And the cost of not acting on your hunches? It can be absolutely staggering. Higgins' own company, RSE Ventures, passed on an early chance to invest in Airbnb. Can you imagine? They got bogged down focusing on regulatory hurdles instead of their gut feeling about the founders. And, well, Airbnb later IPO'd at a valuation of $47 billion. Ouch.
Of course, taking a path like this means you're going to run into 2 massive roadblocks: the fear inside you and the criticism from outside.
And that fear, it's real. When Higgins got his big shot on Shark Tank, he completely froze. He was just drowning in anxiety. But it's so important to realize that feeling fear isn't a sign to stop. It's actually proof that you're pushing your boundaries. He had to talk himself through it, telling himself, you belong here because you are here.
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about moving from this defensive way of thinking, creating backup plans and waiting, to a much more offensive one, of going all in and understanding that your past struggles are actually your greatest strengths.
Now, as for the haters, listen. Their criticism is rarely about you. They just don't see what you see, or they're projecting their own fears onto you, or they're just protecting a status quo that feels safe to them. Our brains are literally wired for something called loss aversion. We're more scared of losing something than we are excited about gaining something new. And the naysayers, they're just a walking, talking example of that bias.
And this brings us to what might be the most powerful idea of all, a complete rethinking of what risk really truly means.
We're conditioned to see the big leap, the big dream, as the risk, right? But Higgins just flips that on its head. He argues the real risk is inaction. The real failure is spending your whole life hedging your bets, building safety nets, and never truly finding out what you're capable of. The greatest risk is regret.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, the whole philosophy really leaves us with one unavoidable question.
I want you to really think about this. Look at your own life, your career, your ambitions. What is the backup plan, the safety net, the escape route that's keeping you from going all in? What boats do you need to burn?